The most dangerous thing I believe a person can do is continue to do the thing that they're doing, looking for a result that they've never gotten. Because there is greatness in every single one of us. We are absolutely amazing. And I think part of it is people don't take the time to really see the amazingness in themselves. I know when we see the amazingness in us, we tend to see the amazingness in other people too. When we feel good inside, it makes us feel good outwardly. And so it's my goal to, one, feel good in here always for me, and help others feel good inside too. And it's going to spread for everybody. Blanca, first and foremost, yeah, I do agree with you. Your health is your greatest wealth. I think it all comes down to that, because if you're not healthy, it all sucks anyway. So keep maintaining your health. Yeah, keep maintaining your health, all you amazing people.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode on Your Health is Your Greatest Wealth. And I am very excited about my next guest, Clifford Starks. And Clifford Starks is a UFC fighter as well as a Hall of Famer in the mixed martial arts. Clifford has also segued into personal coaching with entrepreneurs and business leaders. And with that, Clifford, take it away. Tell us about you, what you're doing, and your journey.
Hey, everybody. Blanca, thank you so much. Health is your greatest wealth. A lot of respect on that. So I am Clifford Starks. I help people take their dreams and really turn them into realities. And so the types of people that I'm working with, entrepreneurs and business owners, because I know when they turn their dreams into realities, it helps a lot of other people turn their dreams into realities too. So that is what I do in a nutshell.
So I love that, especially the ripple effect that you are creating. Now, I've been following you on social media for quite some time. You and I actually met in person about a year ago, and it was at a health and wellness event. And you and I just keep going to the same events. We have the same interest. And what I really wanted to ask you about, okay, so a lot of my audience does not know what UFC or mixed martial arts is. Can you explain to us what those disciplines are, and how did that help you segue into what you're doing today in the coaching world for entrepreneurs and business owners?
Yeah, so mixed martial arts is just how it sounds, mixed. It's a combination of different arts, and it's putting all of these arts, it's blending them into one thing, and having people go out with gloves on their hands, nothing on their feet, and combining boxing, kickboxing, jujitsu, wrestling, grappling arts, stand-up arts, and saying, may the best man or woman win.
I did see some footage with you. It was a fight that you were doing with David Branch, and I just had to hold my breath a little because I saw you get hit in the head while you were fighting, and it just kind of made me hold my breath a little. It's a very intense interdisciplinary sport.
Yeah.
Is what I noticed. So again, so how did that interdisciplinary sport help give you the mindset for what you are doing now in coaching others?
So that's a great question. And what I would say is it's actually not as bad as we make it out to be. But every time we do something that's new or different, or we've never seen it done before, it's like, that's the worst. Oh, this is pretty. And as I've gone through it, I go, oh my goodness, this all comes down to our brain. Our brain will stop us from doing a lot of things because we're thinking it's bigger and hairier than it really is. But when we actually get out there, I wouldn't recommend people taking repeated punches to the head by any means. It's not something where you're like, oh, you took it, so you should take a couple more. But it's saying to yourself like, wow, wait a minute, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And the same thing happens in entrepreneurship and business. You know, we make things bigger than they are. And we all do that to an extent because our brains just, it wants to keep us safe. And so in the pursuit of keeping us as safe as possible, it's like, how can I make this thing so big they don't even try?
I love that. And so Clifford, another thing that you and I have in common, which is why I think this friendship has been very special, is I see that you are very involved with personal development and growth, and you are trying to impart what you are learning on others. I'm on the same journey. I have very much delved into the world of personal development, personal growth, for the reason that I make myself better. It is that ripple effect we were talking about, that we help others become their better self as well. And one of the things that I really notice is missing in our society today is that whole mentorship mentality, where we embrace the concept of finding someone that is better than you, that is doing the things you want to do, and learning from them. That, I think a lot of us in that space realize that so many more people need to be in that space as well. So tell me a little bit about who mentored you. How did you get into where you are, and who were the formative figures that made you decide, you know what, I really benefited from this person, I want to do that?
I love that. Yeah, I love the question. Um, for me, everyone's benefited me to some extent. And people have taught me what not to do, and people have taught me what to do. I was an athlete at a very young age, and I had two father figures. Uh, one of my father figures left my life, like he drove out of my life, and then another father figure drove into my life, and I got to see that people make choices at the end of the day. And I get the choice. Like, the best part of personal development is self development, seeing yourself, understanding yourself. How do you process? How do you take things in? And my biggest thing is we get to choose how we see the things that happen in our lives. So the man who drove out of my life, I appreciate him, not because he drove out, but because he was a human being doing what he knew was right, playing the game the way he knew how to play it. And I appreciate my dad who drove into my life, who gave me amazing values along the way. And I got to see, like, ultimately the question is, who do you want to become? And when you answer that, then you say, okay, who do I want to become, and who are the people that I should be following? If I want to become a certain way and I'm not following those people who know how to get to that way, probably not doing a very good job. And so I think it starts with the individual always first, is really asking the question, who do I want to become, and why do I want to become that person?
Oh, such a great answer. And what I noticed in what you were speaking, Clifford, is that you had such a great appreciation, even for something that someone else that maybe has not worked on themselves would be very angry about. And so you were appreciating the father figure that drove out of your life instead of being angry about it. And I think that's a nuance that so many people miss, that personal development and working on yourself really is about managing your emotions. Obviously, I'm sure at some point you had anger about it, you observed that emotion, and now you, as the developed Clifford Starks, knows what to do to take that emotion, and rather than harm you, you're using it for positive. You actually have appreciation. And so tell me what role gratitude has played in your personal development, and how you are spreading that message to those you coach.
Yeah, so gratitude's one of the most powerful things that we can have. And I also realized there's a saying, one coach said, there's two things. They don't know how much you know until they know how much you care, is one. And two, speak at their level. And speaking at someone's level isn't to say one person's higher than and the other person's lower, but it's to say the experience that they would need to have to become that person, they haven't had it. So figuring out how to put in the reps to get to that experience. One of the most powerful things that gratitude has given to me is it allows me to flow abundantly and be enough for not only myself but other people on the journey. I think ultimately we're all doing the best that we can with what we have and how we show up. And when we practice having gratitude, we're able to smile during the good times and the bad. You know, sometimes people can only smile during the good times. And when bad times come, they don't know how to smile. And I tell people that's okay, they're where they're at. But do they want that to continue to happen? And I ask them, do they want that? Because in life, you're going to have high waves and you're going to have low ones. You're going to have times where you hit the sand and you're like, what the heck happened? And then you get a choice. And I'd rather laugh about things than cry about things. That's the game that I like to play. And I show others how they can play the same game that I'm playing.
Clifford, you brought up so many nuggets of wisdom. Just the concept of being enough. I know you talk about confidence as a muscle. So many of us struggle with that sense of being enough and lack confidence. Um, is that part of what you teach your clients? And if so, what role has it played for you to get to where you are? And was there ever a point that you didn't feel you were enough and or that you did lack confidence?
Yeah. So in life, there's a confidence competent spin wheel that's happening. When you become competent in something, you tend to gain confidence in it. Or if you have the confidence to even move to build the competence. So I really like the question, have I ever felt a lack of confidence? The answer is yes and no. And the reason it's both, when you can say you're not confident in something, you have presented it, and now you can become confident in that thing. I think it's way more dangerous to believe you're confident in something that you've never even experienced before. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I can do this. Like, well, are you going to try it? And that's the thing. Like, the more I live, the humbler I get, because the more I realize how it takes practice doing anything, even the simplest of things, takes practice. So you can come in being confident, but not competent. And I think that can be a level of arrogance. Or you can say, I'm confident to be okay with who I am, how I show up. Now, what was interesting, there was a piece of my journey where when I got out of fighting and I went through a string of, of understanding in entrepreneurship. And I didn't think that I knew enough. I always thought that I needed to know more. I need to know more. I need to know more. I need to know more. I'm like, I need to know more. I need to know more. I need to know more. And I eventually realized, holy crap, I don't even need to know more. I just need them to see themselves. That's all I need to do. When they can see themselves in a different light, in a different way, and take different actions and have different results, then that's where the magic's at. So I don't need to know more of anything. I just have to ask the right questions.
Mhm. I still love that answer at so many different levels, Clifford. So I talk about confidence a lot and fear, and I think they're kind of both sides of the same coin. And I know a lot of people don't jump in and do the thing because of fear. I know there's lots of different layers of fear. The confidence part, I know I felt that when I was starting this YouTube channel about 7 months ago. It took me a while from when I had that idea to actually doing it, several months, and it's because I lacked confidence. And then I realized, you know what, but I do believe in myself that I can figure it out. And even though I'm going to be very green and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and my audience will be very forgiving, and a lot of people don't even know you're doing a YouTube channel. You know, you're just starting up, but just that self-talk that, okay, no, you're not competent. No, you don't know what you're doing. But yes, you are confident that if you're persistent, you can figure it out. And you just have to give yourself that state of grace. Because if you don't start somewhere, even though it's messy, you're never going to advance to make it better. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. So talk to us about what you see as people's biggest fear of never taking that initiative to even start.
So this is so interesting because I look at the most dangerous thing I believe a person can do is continue to do the thing that they're doing, looking for a result that they've never gotten. And so what I mean by that is you even talked about mentorship. People are going to try to do everything that, like, everyone's doing their best. And so what I mean by that is everyone's going to start something. Now, whether they get to the result that they're looking for or not, that's another thing altogether. What I love so much about fighting, I wanted to fight in the UFC in less than a year. And even my own coach thought I was crazy. He's like, that's not happening. It's not possible. It's not happening. And like champions, we pulled it off in 10 months. Now, the way that we did it was he didn't realize I'm not your ordinary type of person. And not being ordinary doesn't mean that I know everything, because I don't. In fact, there's a lot more that I don't know than that I do. And that was actually my saving grace. There's more that I don't know than that I do. And so I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be a sponge, and I'm willing to take action. I don't know which action is going to actually create or produce the result. I just know there's a sequence of patterns that if I take them, eventually I'll get to the result. So the way I got into the UFC, I talked to the one guy who was good at getting people into the UFC. He was really good at doing that. And for him to say it's not going to happen in a year, I didn't boo-hoo about it, but I just said, can we try? That's all I asked. Can we at least try? And he goes, all right, we'll try. You'd be surprised how much you can do when you do it with intentionality. I think that's the best way to put it, because I think people do take action. I really do believe people take action. They start, they do the thing, but are they doing it with intention? That's the difference. And sometimes that's really hard for people to hear, because they want to say, well, I tried. And I believe that. I believe that to be true. But I also believe that when we try once, that just means we have to try again, and we have to try better than we did the first time. If we expect to get it right the first time, yeah, good luck with that. I made a lot of mistakes on my 10-month journey, and I knew I was going to make a lot of mistakes. I didn't pretend like, well, I told them I'm going to be there in less than a year, so I'm going to hit everything perfect. What? No, I'm going to get cracked ribs, which I did. I ended up hurting my Achilles. That was not very fun. I'll tell you, cracked ribs, you would be surprised how much everything hurts so much more.
I've
Laughing.
had cracked ribs, so I do
Yeah.
know.
They're like, yeah, it's just like,
And then
it's like
they
everything
recracked.
sucks.
Yes.
Oh my God. So that
I
was,
cracked them and then they recracked.
yeah, it taught me, let
Painful.
me tell you, it really helped me with gratitude. That's for sure. Where I'm like, all right, what can I be grateful for? Because I can't even breathe right now.
Sneezing really hurts.
But I got through it. I got through it, and I did it with a semi smile on my face. Sometimes there was some growing in pain. Um, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter the mistakes. It matters what I'm focused on. And so I'm gonna focus on what I'm gonna focus on. And if you're really focused, you'll take the actions that you need to take. I know some people, like, you talk about the non-starters. Well, I'll say this to anyone who's a non-starter. There's a starter in you too. If you know you haven't started, well, you know that you can start. And so when you can get really honest with yourself and say, well, why haven't I started? And what is this costing me? And when we look at the cost, we go, okay, you know what? It's time to start. It's not as scary as it ever is. Trust me. Our brain makes it really, really big. Does a good job.
So good, so good. And that last question of what is it costing me? I think if more people ask themselves that, they would take more intentional action towards their goals. So,
Yeah.
so another thing I find really interesting, Clifford, when I met you, I had just run a marathon. It was actually my bucket list marathon in Bordeaux, France. And the entire time I was
Nice.
training, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I want to do a reactionary to that because that is awesome. Look at that. Party streamers.
Party stream.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe do I have to make you co-host?
Yeah, you can.
So, but my point that I wanted to make is that the entire time I was training for that marathon, I was training with sports injuries. I had torn my hamstring muscles,
Mhm.
and because I was on this timeline for that goal, and many runners are stubborn, I kept training through the injury, which then caused a different injury, my piriformis syndrome. So the
Oof.
entire time I was training for this marathon, it was through injuries. And I have to say, for anyone that has done any type of sport, especially competitively, there is nothing more humble than, thinking you're at a certain level, having an injury, and knowing that you're not going to perform like you thought you would. And that is why I love marathons. They are such an experience in humility. You show up to the line and you see all these people, and as you're progressing through the 26.2-mile journey, you see people ahead of you that you would never think, oh my gosh, they're so much faster than me. I thought I was in such good shape. And then you see people behind you that say, oh my gosh, they look so fit. I look way less fit than than them, and I'm ahead of them. And not for the sake of comparison, because I don't think that's healthy either those ahead of you or those behind you, but just honoring the space where you're in. This is my little bubble, and this is where I'm running. It doesn't matter who's ahead of me or behind me. This is where I am right now in this marathon of life. And that, for me, has taught me so much humility. So, my follow up question for you is, what has taught Clifford Stark humility?
Everybody does. I mean, you just did right there when you shared your story, your journey. Um, there's always opportunities for humility, but since you shared a story, I'll share a story. Um, I got to see a group of women at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, and it was really, really cool because I got to see everyone stand on the top of the podium, the first place, hugging it out. And that was just a really cool opportunity for everybody to say, we're in this together. We're all working together. We're all supporting each other as we go through this. My kids teach me humility. I got he was 7 at the time. He just turned 8. It was his birthday. But I have an
Congratulations.
8-year-old. Thank you. Thank you. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they fight with each other, but they fight very controlled. My 7-year-old at the time, he knew that he's bigger and he's stronger. And my 3-year-old does cheat because he knows he's not as big as himself.
Okay.
And I look at it and I'm like, wow, they're roughhousing, but they're actually roughhousing very controlled. And I think what we do, we become adults. I think we all got it figured out. Yet the adult still has a child in them. And they want to make sure, like, we got to make sure everything's protected and safe. And so some adults would like, hey, you two don't fight like that. But take back and step back and look at the bigger situation. And you get to see, like, oh, wait, it's a bigger thing than I thought it was. They're actually supporting each other. They're roughhousing. And then the same thing goes into my MMA. I remember I had one person because I have a message of love, and it's very confusing to people. And I totally get it. And they're like, how can you have a message of love and you punch someone in the face? I go, that person signed a contract. It wasn't like I'm just randomly going to punch a person in the face. I would never do something like that. And so it's taking the time, looking at the bigger picture, and knowing we're all in this together. We're all here to support one another.
That is so eye-opening. And I guess my question for you would also be, so, and maybe I'll do a juxtaposition to help me understand your sport. So In the running community, I know, again, training for this event, I did something I normally have not done is I've also always been a solo runner. It's my
Mhm.
meditation space. This time around, especially post shutdowns, I think I was so starved for people and community and like-minded individuals working on their health like I was. So I joined several running groups. And what I learned is, that sense of accountability that, whether it was snowing or whether it was the blazing heat, all of us showed up and we built so much respect for each other because you're running the same miles in the same weather, doing the same work, regardless of what speed everyone was running. And for me, that building of sense of community and that sense of belonging and that joint camaraderie and support was so huge for me in prepping for my marathon. And walk me through what it looks like in your sports, because that is very much a loner sport. And you do have one rival you're competing against for that particular event. What does it look like outside of the ring? Is there community? Is there camaraderie? Walk
Yeah.
me through it.
So there is when you're in the locker room, you're usually in there with your team, and sometimes you're in with other people and their teams as well. And you can gain insights from one another. So let's say there's the red corner and the blue corner, right? You can have a group of people in the blue corner and a group of people in the red corner. Um, and it's nice. It's nice to have people to talk to, and you're going to get different types of people. You're going to get some people who are not very talkative. I'm actually not very talkative when I'm getting ready for a fight. I like to focus in on my fight. I do like to be a space for other people to talk to if they need that, but I like to really, really focus in on what I'm doing because I'm just eyes on the prize. And then when you're getting ready to walk out, my coaches would like shake me out just to get some of that nervous energy out. And we we're usually pretty warm when we're getting ready to go out there. If you're serious about what you're doing, if you're not, you're ice cold. But if you're serious about what you're doing, you warmed up, you've hit some mitts, you've done your thing, and then you walk towards the cage. And I honestly think Tyson explains it perfectly, Mike Tyson, on the feelings that you go through. And I know, like, in the end, Tyson starts talking about, I feel like a god. Now, for me, I felt like I felt ready. I felt ready. Um, there's a speaker, Myron Golden. The guy's an absolute genius. But he says amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. So when I'm really intentional with what I do, I practice it so much that I know the best Clifford Starks is going to show up. Now, whether Clifford Starks wins or loses, I don't know. I just know the best Clifford Starks is going to show. And then you let the chips fall where they may, and then you adjust and recalculate from there. Um, but yeah, what a feeling! What a feeling to go through that process. Two people in the same cage, expressing themselves, showing the world what they got and who they are. And then the next piece that is so critically important to me is not only walking in the cage, but also walking outside of the cage. Who are you when you're out of that cage? Who are you when you win or lose? I want whether they're winning or whether they're losing, I want them to feel good because they were intentional with getting to the space that they got into. You don't accidentally get into the UFC or Bellator or any of those high level areas. You got to put intentionality into it. So I really, really respect my fellow fighter. And then we go back. And then I usually celebrate with something, usually celebrating with some sort of shot or something that's really, really cool. And then it's back to it again. We go, I got to get hydrated the next day after. Usually I don't drink that much, which is good. I'm a conservative drinker, but I have done that a couple of times where I definitely have to do the hydration. And then after that, it's back at it again. The whole process, go through the cycle again and come out better and better every cycle that you have.
Rinse, repeat. Rinse,
Yeah.
repeat. Yeah.
Yes.
So, how does Clifford Starks share his message of love?
By loving people, by taking the time. There's a saying, be, do, have. And to love means to express yourself as fully as you can. We got 2 ears, we got one mouth. And I say we have 2 ears so we can listen twice as much. But it's also important that we talk. And there's been times where I haven't listened as effectively, and there's been times I haven't talked as effectively. And I'm sure in the future there will be those as well. But I take what I do seriously. I don't take myself too seriously. And I do my best to listen, give the right advice, and create the right actions, or support those in creating the right actions themselves too, because there is greatness in every single one of us. We are absolutely amazing. And I think part of it is people don't take the time to really see the amazingness in themselves. I know when we see the amazingness in us, we tend to see the amazingness in other people too. When we feel good inside, it makes us feel good outwardly. And so it's my goal to, one, feel good in here always for me, and help others feel good inside too. And it's going to spread for everybody.
So good. So, Clifford, is there anything that I did not know to ask you? Any parting words you would like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, Blanca, first and foremost, yeah, I do agree with you. Your health is your greatest wealth. I think it all comes down to that, because if you're not healthy, it all sucks anyway. So keep maintaining your health. Yeah, keep maintaining your health, all you amazing people. And yeah, if you resonate with this message in any way, I have a Facebook community called the Inner Warrior Community. Love to invite anyone who would like to continue the party with me. And if you did resonate with me, you can reach out to me in Messenger on Clifford Starks, and you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. So that is my piece. And my final parting words. You're amazing, Blanca, greatness within. I'm amazing, Clifford, greatness within. And audience, you're amazing, greatness with every single one of you.
So good, Clifford. I am so glad that you agreed to come here as my guest today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being you. And I will provide all of your information in the description of this YouTube episode. And thank you for being amazing and sharing your message of love and positivity with the world. It is so needed right now. And I am so glad that our paths crossed. And
Yeah.
I look forward to our friendship growing together. So thank you very much. And with that, audience, thank you for joining us on another episode of Your Health is Your Greatest Wealth. Okay, perfect.
I got your back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it.